Alright guys, today we're gonna be reacting to why was Bonn the capital of West Germany. This is a very short documentary. Make sure you like to subscribe. You just simply want to jump in. Let's go.
Defeat in World War II, Germany was split into two parts. East Germany with its capital of Berlin and West Germany with its capital of Bonn, which is here and had a population of about 110,000 people in a nation of about 50 million. And given that there were much larger, more important cities in West Germany at the time, why was Bonn chosen as its capital? So as of 1949, Germany was divided into four parts, and the three controlled by the Western powers were merged into the Federal Republic of Germany. With the Allies preparing to hand over the role of civilian government to the West Germans, the first thing that needed to be picked was where this government would operate from, and the temporary location chosen was Bonn. This was because Bonn was one of the larger towns in West Germany that hadn't been bombed to ruins. However, it was only supposed to be a stopgap until the politicians of West Germany could pick a new capital. So why did they keep it there? Well, there were many reasons, and numerous larger cities were put forward. Frankfurt, Cologne and Munich were candidates for the capital, but all of them were somewhat bombed and occupied. The buildings that were still standing were either being used as emergency housing or by the Allied armies as bases. As such, the West German...
And I can't even imagine, man. I can't even imagine having this amount of the stress after a war and just figuring out what we're gonna use for a capital. That's insane, man.
Government would need to spend considerable sums of money to build a new parliament, as well as the massive infrastructure needed to support it. Money which many at the time felt that the government didn't have. Furthermore, German Chancellor Konrad Adenauer and his opponent Kurt Schumacher didn't want the West German capital to be somewhere with lots of foreign troops around. Schumacher soon found himself a little bit dead, and his successors pushed for Frankfurt because of its central location. They weren't in power though, so it wasn't up to them and largely fell to Adenauer and his party to decide. Adenauer didn't want the Federal Republic's new capital to be a major city because he felt that such a move would look permanent, and thus it would appear to be a concession that Germany would remain divided forever. Another concern was that the new capital couldn't be anywhere with a strong association with the previous regime. With this in mind, Adenauer needed to find a small town without Allied troops with no connection to the war that was large enough to house a parliament, which didn't leave much. The French refused to withdraw from any town in their former occupation zones as they saw it as a sign of weakness, whereas the Americans preferred that the new government would be seated in a larger city, but they also refused to remove their soldiers from there. This left only the British, who had already agreed to withdraw forces from Bonn, not because of any sympathy towards German feeling, but because not stationing troops in a town is cheaper than stationing troops in a town, and Britain was broke. Bonn...
Yeah, Britain was no money. They didn't have no money after the war, man. They're so broke. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. After that war, a lot of things could have go sideways. Like, oof, man.
Had a lot of unbombed, unoccupied buildings that were suitable for use and also had nothing to do with the previous regime. In fact, it was the birthplace of Beethoven and thus appealed to a vision of Germany distinct from its Prussian or imperial past. And another bonus was that it was only a 20-minute drive from Adenauer's house. And given that the government was already there, they just, well, chose to stay. And in fact, when Germany reunited in 1990, there was a vote to move the capital from Bonn to Berlin. Most West German politicians voted for it to remain in Bonn. However, when the votes of East German politicians were included, it tipped the balance by a mere 18 votes.
Wow.
And thus Berlin took over as the new capital of a united Germany.
And not only that, that also would unify Germany, right? That would just move the central power to, the weakest side, which was the East Germany. That's how I see it. I mean, at least East Germany was a little bit behind. That gives them a little bit of more fresh air to just, be the first one receiving that money from, of course, the budget of the country.
I hope you enjoyed this episode with a special thanks to my patrons, James Bizanet.
Very good video, man. Very good video. Do we have more? Very good video. I think, let me see here. Where is it? Where's the map? Right, let me see. What's the map here? I'm trying to find the map. Okay. So,
City because he felt that such a move would look permanent. And
1 second. Okay. You see how small East Germany was? And they needed somehow to make sure that East Germany stayed with the rest of West Germany. It was smart. It was, believe me, folks, if they left Bonn in West Germany, the east side of Germany will feel some kind of way. You see what I'm saying? It will feel some kind of way. I would. With reunifying and with you guys still controlling the power. So it was smart to move the capital to Berlin. It makes sense. It makes total sense. Because it can look certain way. And I think there in the time they were thinking about that. Love to hear what the people have to say here. It's really strange when you consider. Let me see. Let me just go like this. There we go. It's really strange when you consider how much of history is made up of coincidence, half measure, and we'll sort it out later, and how much those can be just as important in shaping events as the dynamic and deliberate decisions people take. Good point. Not stationing his troops is cheaper than stationing troops. More top-tier political and economic advice brought to you by History Matter. That's a good point. Fun facts: half of the German ministries remain with their primary office in Bonn, while half moved to Berlin, and each ministry is required to have a secondary office in other of the two cities. In it does not have its primary office. I don't know what the hell that means. As a German, believe me, town of Bonn being only 20 minutes away from on the nose house is the main reason. He half jokingly said if he could have been if he could have the capital in his 2,000 soul home village, he would go for it. Well, that's interesting. Politicians, that's how they do it, man. That's all. They're always thinking lazy. It's interesting. Politicians are always thinking lazy. It's one of the most interesting stuff regarding politics. I have no idea we were so close to having Bonn as the permanent capital of United Germany. Crazy, yeah. And I don't think it was going to be a good idea, though. I don't think so. Although Bonn hasn't been the capital city for over 30 years, you can still tell if you were there. If you were there, stuff like the huge museums are an obvious tell, but you get this capital city feeling from the huge streets and other over proportion infrastructure project, especially south of the city center. There is a lot of stuff from the 1960s when we have money to spend upgrading infrastructure again. So you're telling me that you guys don't have money to infrastructure? That's why the trains don't work. The train was. I'm just jumping around here, but is the trains losing a lot of money today? You saying that the main reason is because you guys don't have money? How much money does Germany have? That's a good question. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next one.